Welcome back to FPL Therapy, the weekly podcast hosted by me, FPL Raptor, where each week we are joined by a different guest. And I'm very, very delighted to say for the final episode of FPL Therapy this season, for Gameweek 38, we are joined by the main man, Pras. Everyone will know who Pras is, I'm sure. But if you don't know, Pras is not only a fantastic manager with 8 top 25k finishes and 4 top 10k, soon to be 5 top 10k. He's also co-host of the FPL Wire, which is up there with my favorite content every single week. I haven't missed an episode this season with Pranil and Zoff as well. So if you haven't yet listened or watched to the FPL Wire, I highly recommend it. Also does some stuff with Scout, including Deadline Dilemmas with Mo, who we had on last week. So there we go. We've got the 2 hosts of that in consecutive weeks. Pras, how you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. Thank you for the very kind introduction. And you're having a good season as well. So we will come to your team. But yeah, I'm well and good to be back. I remember when I was here game week 2 and we all said, how can you triple captain Haaland this early? Turns out it was the best triple captaincy of the year.
I know, it's incredible. We just said off camera, we'll talk about learnings from this year, but often there are no learnings and that you just carry on playing the same way. But yeah, so I highly recommend listening to Pras today. Pras, if nothing else, and I'm not saying he'll always be right because I don't want to put you on a pedestal that you inevitably have.
There's a quiz coming up.
There is a quiz coming up, but you're also a very calming influence. That's why I like listening to you. Like I listen to Pranil for the spice and to convince me to do things I shouldn't do. I listen to you for just bringing me back down to earth and relaxing, which I think is nice for FPL Therapy. Kind of fits the vibe very much so. We're going to talk about our seasons, what we've got left to play for and stuff throughout today. But this podcast does continue to be sponsored by Club, the wonderful free-to-play fantasy football mobile game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. It's not too late to join because I know there are some big plans for next season and it might be a good idea to just get to grips with it in the final game weeks. There is a link down below to download that. And for the final time this season, please do rate 5-star if you're listening on audio. And if you're watching on YouTube, drop a like and hit that subscribe because we are coming back for season 2 and we've got some pretty cool plans as well. So we've both had good game weeks. And again, as you say, both had good seasons. You've been absolutely flying. So you're currently on 2,562 points, which is 2.6k, 53 points this week. And am I right in saying all of your players have returned?
I did not know that. But it has been a good game week, but it didn't feel like everyone's returned. Like I feel it's been a good game week because the Villa guys did all right and Boomo missed a pen, but he did get a goal as well. So yeah, you're right. I guess it's been a very good game week so far.
Yeah, so to read out your team for those on audio, it's Raya in goal, Konsa 15. I mean, the Raya, Konsa, Emi, Saliba point swing is horrific. Like I know Oscar and Let's Talk FPL both had Emi and Saliba. That is nothing other than just luck or variance, whatever you'd like to call it.
Absolute luck.
So yeah, 7-15. So it's a 22 versus 6 or 7. That's like a 15-point swing. For still owning just an Arsenal defender and a Villa defender. So crazy.
Konsa. It's Konsa.
You love Konsa.
That's the difference.
You've got a good relationship with Konsa, don't you? Your other defenders are Munoz and Guardiola. And I should note we're recording this on Monday afternoon, so we've not seen those Tuesday games. Your midfield, again, you've still got 2 left to play in Salah and De Bruyne, and you've already had Mbeumo Rodgers. And then your front line of Isak, Wissa, Watkins, with Sarr on the bench to come on. And you've even got bench points with Kivior sat there as well. So talk through the team. Talk through how it's gone.
Good spot to be in, actually, because, we're in this position where you have Crystal Palace players, no clue if they start or not. We've had Pep just come on, done his press conference and said he'll pick the team that he thinks will do well. So we don't know if De Bruyne starts. So it's nice to have a Kivior 7-pointer sitting on the bench. I'm happy with Sarr starting. So very happy with the team. I was actually saying in one of the podcasts last week that a lot of times we try to push the last 2-3 game weeks as I want this player because he's going to make all the difference. It's often the other players who you've been accumulating and if you're making good decisions. So it's players like Konsa or Wissa who you didn't actually think this week will do well. They end up doing well.
We was discussing this actually with Focal in sort of a chat, and I was saying that I think I was like 21 points off the top 10k going into this game week. And I said, my team looks identical to so many other people. Like, how am I supposed to make up 20 points? It's a template team. Yeah, I've got like a Jared Bowen in there, but my lowest owned player is Ezri Konsa. Like, how are you supposed to do well with a team like that? And yeah, I'm on like a 17-point green arrow. So as much as I do encourage people that are chasing 5 to go for it, like really go for it and try and win your mini leagues and try and get your target rank. But sometimes you don't even necessarily need to go for it to get those big greens. I mean, so you're on 53 points. Again, I look at your team and it's good, but it's not massively different to those around you. Like lots of your players are probably between like 60 and 100% effective ownership.
Yeah.
But the accumulation of all of those together is obviously differential enough.
Exactly. And I think, I guess the whole urge to do something to chase is because that's the one thing you can do.
Yep.
Like this week, between now and Sunday, the one thing you can do is make your transfer.
Yep.
And so you're hoping to push through that. But yeah, like you said, your whole team needs to also do well.
So you're 2.6k right now. What is your target? I know you said last week you said you were playing for mini leagues more than rank. Is that still the case? Is there any way you think you can try and push towards top 1k, or is that off the cards now?
I mean, I'll push, but I'll still get the player that I think will score points. So this week, I think, as opposed to last week where I was like, 1k is out of the question.
Yeah.
It's a bit like maybe. If I'm still as lucky in the next game week, then maybe it's possible. So to be honest with you, I haven't checked live scores, and I tend not to do that. It's a thing that I do where even you mentioned it, that all my players have scored points. I didn't know that everyone has returned because I tend not to look at mid-game week ranks because I feel it can only bring you down. Like if you do better than what you're doing now, then the rank will be better. But if you do worse, then you looked at it and it didn't help. So I'll just see where I end up on Wednesday. And if I need to go ultra differential with captaincy, I'll try to calibrate risk. My highest ever rank is actually 4.2k. So if I beat that, that'll be a very good season for me. But any season where you get top 10k is a good season.
Is that your goal for each season? 4-digit rank? Yeah.
I just think that's the gold standard. And I know people say it's getting harder and harder, but still, like if you can still get to that top 10k, it's a nice milestone. You can put this up as one of those seasons where you did well, got lucky, but you did well. And that's one of these seasons.
Very, very nice. My team is hugely different, Pras. So the only difference in our teams is De Bruyne versus Bowen. So our starting 11 is literally identical, even coming down to captaincy. But yeah, I've just got Jared Bowen in there. So I've got an extra 8 points on you, but obviously you still have De Bruyne to play. I also even have Ismail Assar coming on for Alexander Isak as well. I suppose the small difference is if I have 2 players missing out, then I have Bradley coming on rather than Kivior. So we're recording this on Monday afternoon. I don't yet know how Bradley did, but if he goes and gets a 20-pointer or something like that, so be it. He's not very highly owned, and at least it gives me a little bit of bench cover.
I mean, all I can say is I wish I had Bowen, man. Like that's been an amazing pick over the last few weeks. I think he's 5 home games in a row he scored. He's just on fire. So the song Bowen's on fire. So yeah, he's a great pick. We
were saying off camera that Bowen felt like one of those players where there was just never a week to buy him because lots of people went for Brian in Burma. I think it was in like 34, 35. Then lots of people went for Kevin De Bruyne. They went for Wissa. Now for Ollie Watkins. Every week there's been a transfer that's been template, but for the right reasons. Right. They've been the best captaincy option. Bowen has never felt like the priority transfer at any point. So I think it was in like 33. I just felt the opportunity was there to jump on. And I knew that not many people would ever go there, even if he did well. And I think the fact that he's only returning once every game is also making people think, I could still go without. Like, he's only getting one big chance a game. He's not going to continue to do that. And he does. There is a large element of luck there because he is finishing his only chance in every single game. Like if you watched the Forest game, did you manage to watch that game?
I did, yes.
He didn't do anything. It was largely honest. And that was big credit to Forest, but he just didn't touch the ball. Ball bounces to him in the box, lovely little flick and volley.
Touch, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, there is something to say about owning good players, but I think there's also a large element, again, of luck that he's returned in every single game.
And it's about owning these talismans in these bottom half teams, a bit like, what Cunha did. Like people said, you know what, I can back against Wolves. They could lose any game. So same, people go, I can back against West Ham. Maybe they just not score against Nottingham Forest. And they do.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you ever look at like bookies odds for West Ham, they've always got a really low chance of scoring, but Bowen has a very high chance of being the one to score the goal. Exactly. Absolutely. So yeah, positive weeks for us both. So you're just on for a good season, even if you have a stinker in Gameweek 38, and I think it's going to be very close. So I'm currently 4 points off top 10k, but I don't have Eze, I don't have De Bruyne, Munoz and Gvardiol, Salah are owned by everyone. So I think it'll probably drop, I reckon, to about 7 or 8 points off. I'll be off top 10k.
Right.
And then again, I'd like your coaching at the end of the podcast because it will be like, how much do I push? Like, is my team good enough to just hope that I make up the 8? Or is it requiring me a differential transfer? So for example, like we'll discuss, Isak to even Ilson feels obvious, but if his ownership's quite high, isn't Isak to Welbeck or something to differentiate worth doing? So these are the things to think about. I'm just glad to be at this point right now.
Like, and it's a great spot to be in. I mean, obviously you'd rather be in the top 10k, but I think to get this close after you were 20 odd points behind the week before, it's amazing.
And thinking back to that start of the season when I went without Haaland, I remember I thought my YouTube career is over. I was at 6 million in the world after 5 game weeks.
I do remember that.
Yeah. 11 goals in 5 games, and then he's proceeded to just not do anything since. But hey ho, that'll be one for game week 1 next season. Haaland versus Salah versus both versus neither. Sometimes. Right. So what we're going to do then is, because it's game week 38, and I just don't see the benefit of discussing every team in tons of depth, is just doing a bit of a no fluff preview of game week 38. So we're just going to go through each of the games, discuss the players that you might want to bring in and what you think of them. So let's start with Bournemouth versus Leicester. Kluivert, Semenyo, even Ilson. Where do you currently stand on bringing them in? Like they've got to be some of the best options to own this week.
Yeah, I think in terms of motivation, right? I mean, again, we're going to talk about motivation a lot, and everyone's going to show this table between 3rd and 8th.
I'll chuck the table on the screen now then for us to look at.
People will look at 8th and say, can they make Europe? And again, people would have done the math that yes, it is possible. And it doesn't matter how possible. As long as it's possible, none of Fulham, Brentford, Bournemouth are going to put out the kids, because even if it's 1%, you don't want to be seen as the idiot who put out kids when you could have gone for Europe. So Bournemouth will put out a strong team. Leicester, on the contrary, have had their party, the Vardy party, and then now they're away. Who knows? So this could be a 4-5-0. And so you want to get some spice. And I think Evanilson, Kluivert-Semenyo, like you said, are the picks there.
This feels for me the highest upside game. We'll talk about Arsenal, Southampton later. And of course, there could be a lot of goals there. There are also games where like Spurs, Brighton feels like it could be a goal fest. But if we're talking about the most predictable high upside game for one single team, it has to be Bournemouth for Leicester at home, because Arsenal don't have the motivation, whereas Bournemouth do. Leicester literally are going to be on the beach. They've had their final home games. There's not even that element there if they could go full strength. So, and also, Bournemouth do score goals. Like, their attacking data is not bad. This feels like the one to target. I, like you, and I think anyone that really likes models and data, we love penalty takers. So my brain immediately goes Kluivert, right? On pens and set pieces and a midfielder. And I always think midfielders are a little bit nicer, extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet. But Kluivert and Semenyo's data has fallen off a cliff. For the last 10, 12 game weeks, they've produced very little. And Evanilson has shot right up. So I was looking at the data. Across the last 6, 8, and 10 game weeks, so it doesn't matter how you frame it, Evanilson is top for non-pen XG per 90. And so across the last 10, it's 0.61 NPXG per 90. I'll add a bit of context and eye test into that 3 of his goals were like 0.9 XG tap-ins.
Reset types.
Exactly, which skew the data. But at the same time, he's in a position to get 0.9 XG chance. How much does Evanilson just being fantastic and such a goal threat outweigh the pens, set pieces, and midfielder element of a Kluivert? Because for me, I've got Isak and Sarr, so I could conceivably sell either of them and bench the other one this week if Isak's a doubt. So I could go Kluivert or Evanilson. Doesn't affect my transfers, doesn't affect much at all. Where would you lean there at this early stage?
I think the pens thing, if it's 1 game week, is less relevant than if you were getting the player for 10 game weeks, right? Because you'd expect in 10 game weeks they get a pen or even 2. And so then you just get, I'm going to take these 10 free points for Kluivert, and then that's great. I think for 1 game week, you go with form a little bit. But I think the one thing on Bournemouth, as we're discussing the teams, is we talked about Bowen, right? When you get an alert on your phone, West Ham scored, it's Bowen. When you get an alert on your phone from Brentford, it's either Wissa or Mbumo. For Bournemouth, when you get an alert, you have no clue. It could be anyone. So yes, more recently, maybe Evanilson has shown that form, but I'm not surprised if Semenyo gets maybe yes. Kluivert if he gets a brace, or if it's Semenyo who gets a goal, or if it's one of those midfielders. So the one thing with Bournemouth are they're not the ideal. There isn't a player which you can say, I can back this player from Bournemouth to be in 20% of the goals that they score, or even 40% of the goals they score. So that's the issue. But I think amongst them, it's a case of Evanilson will be the popular pick if Isak's not fit. I
was just looking on the data as you were speaking there. You are spot on with I don't know if you knew that was the exact percentages, but the highest percentage goal involvement for a Bournemouth player this season is 38, which is Evanilson, and 37, which is Kluivert. It's very rare that there's not at least a 40% one player that is involved in quite a lot. But then I changed that to over the last 10 game weeks. Evanilson's up at 55%, then Semenyo 36, then Kluivert 29. And obviously Kluivert's played fewer minutes, but only 170 fewer minutes.
Right.
So Evanilson is that guy that is more likely, if Bournemouth score 3 or 4, the stats suggest at the moment that Evanilson's the most likely to be involved in a couple of those.
Yeah, and I think if I was to be pushed, like to your question on which one to pick, I would go with the form guy, because Kluivert has dipped too much, for my liking to pick him for a week. But you just never know. Like if it's the game where they do end up with a pen, then Kluivert's fine. So I think if I was to pick one, if it was a free hit, I'd go for 2. Yeah. If I was to pick one, I think Evanilson fits well. But I'm actually not too afraid of going without as well. Like I feel, when we're talking about risk, when we're talking about game week 38, I think it'll come down to where the masses are going or where the popular themes are going. It could be Saka. Okay, Saka's the big, like a bit like Watkins last week. Or it could be, okay, Isak's not fit, so it could be Evanilson wherever it is going. So then you can calibrate your risk. If you want to chase, then don't go Evanilson, get Kluivert instead or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Semenyo is still a fine option as well. Like he takes a lot of shots. We know that. He's always involved, but I just think when you've got Evanilson in form, Kluivert on pens, I just think he just becomes the third choice option.
Absolutely.
If people are looking to buy a defender this week, and it does feel very boring, but some people, if Saliba is out, if they've got like a backup defender that doesn't play, you might be forced into it. Kirkes has to be one of the highest upside defenders.
Absolutely. I think the highest upside defender, this week. Leicester are very goal shy. I mean, we had the stats. I mean, this is throwback to free hit 34 for those of you who free hit it. I mean, this was the Wolves fixture, right? So people targeted 8 Nouri and people targeted Cunha. So you have your Ivan Nilsson and you have your Kirkes this week.
Could do with them doing that well. That would be very nice this week for people that go there. So yeah, I think that's the fixture to target. Even Nilsson top, then Kluivert, then Semenyo, and Kirk is probably the best defender to buy this week. So we're recording this on Monday afternoon, so there's not too much we can say on Man City because it will completely change in reference to that game. This is one of those where I don't like leaks in FPL because I think it reduces the skill gap. I think we should be forced to try and work out who's going to play or not, but we are probably going to get leaks. And Man City are one of those teams where there are 4, 5, 6 really accurate accounts that give us that information early. So if you've got City players in your team, you do probably wait till the deadline. And that might be a good piece of advice anyway, just hold transfers.
I mean, it would be critical this week because there's, everyone's kicking off at the same time and you just don't know, right? I mean, at this stage of the season, even a niggle is basically out for the season, obviously by definition. So, and players are more likely to basically without motivation, just say, you know what, I have a little bit of a strain and I'm just going to be going to my holiday a week earlier. So I feel like, there could be more surprises in press conferences as well on Friday. So if you didn't want to wait for leaks, at least wait for the Friday press conferences. So absolutely essential, I agree.
De Bruyne, what do you think? Like, regardless of if he starts in 37 or not.
So we'll talk about the final if we get to it, and congrats to Palace fans. Yep. He played a very withdrawn role. I mean, De Bruyne was basically, whether it was because of the Kovacic injury, which Pep talked about, which maybe Kovacic would have started and maybe De Bruyne wouldn't have. So he played basically as a centre mid, even a defensive mid. So I don't like that. He still created a couple of chances. So we know what De Bruyne is. But if everyone was fit in my team, I wouldn't mind taking him out because away to Fulham isn't the easiest fixture. If in another world, if Saka is completely fit, if Arsenal have something to play for, Saka is easy from De Bruyne. But it's not the case. But I would still say if everyone is fit, I don't mind taking out De Bruyne to a Bowen or a Saka because that's an easy transfer out. Yep. He has potential, of course, but I don't think we see the peak De Bruyne as predictably as much anymore.
No, I think so. And that's the reason that he's not staying. If he was still at the top of his game, he'd be staying there. Regardless of the City-Bournemouth result on Tuesday, City have to go into the Fulham game thinking they need to win.
Yeah.
So they're going to go full strength regardless. Even though if they do beat Bournemouth, there's a good chance a point or even none might be enough there. So I think Kevin De Bruyne might start in 38, but that's one way you want to try and wait as long as possible. And if you're not sure, Jared Bowen's sat right there. Saka, if we think he's going to start or get a leak, he's sat right there as well. Even God forbid, Cole Palmer against Forest. That's a game where everything's on the line. If Forest go in up, Chelsea have to score 2. So I think there are options.
There's a lot of midfield options, I was thinking. Like, of course, we talked about Bournemouth just now as well. So there's those options as well. You can, again, look at where your risk appetite is, what your transfer budget is. But yeah, I do like the fact that if everyone is fit, maybe you can go against De Bruyne or sell him.
And I think if you're looking at selling De Bruyne, Jared Bowen, I thought I was going to have not only a differential option, but a differential captain. I ran a captaincy poll this morning. He's currently the most popular captain.
Really?
Yeah, just ahead of Salah. It was like 38% Bowen, 36% Salah. I'll check it in a minute what the update is on that. But we could be talking, he was already at like 50% EO and in those top ranks, creeping a little bit higher than that, 20, 30% more buy him, a few captains. We could be looking at 100% EO Jared Bowen.
Wow.
Does that scare you?
It does. I wasn't planning to bring him in. I mean, look, once Salah scores today, it's going to be Salah. I genuinely feel we'll come to the Liverpool Crystal Palace game, but can there be a bigger party than the Premier League champions playing the FA Cup winners?
Yeah.
And so no one cares about defending in that game, in my view.
Yeah.
So for me, top captain will be Salah, but we'll come to that game. But I feel there's enough alternatives as we're talking about Man City. I don't think away to Fulham is as easy a fixture. Man City have struggled for goals. They haven't scored against Southampton. They didn't score in the FA Cup final. You can argue these were 2 important games. I mean, they were very important games for them, but they're struggling for goals. So, taking out an attacker from a team like that doesn't feel wrong anymore.
A couple of people asking about bringing in Haaland, though, especially if you've got the Isak out and you want to take a final risk to, pivot from a De Bruyne to a Haaland or even from a Salah to a Haaland. I feel like I'd have to be really chasing and just desperate for something really different to go Haaland now.
You're basically chasing a hat-trick that nobody saw coming, which is possible when it's a Haaland. Less possible when it's a De Bruyne, right? Because there's a minutes issue there as well. Like Haaland definitely starts. So yeah, if you want to go for it. But again, we go back to the whole thing of, are you trying to force it to get that 30, 40 point? Because maybe other players can also do that.
I just had a look at that poll. So it's now 35% Bowen, 36% Salah, 20% Saka, and then like 8 to 9% other.
Right. Okay.
So it does look like it will be Salah and Bowen at the moment. Lots of knee-jerk, obviously, from the weekend. If Bowen doesn't score that volley, he's down at like 5% captaincy.
I mean, this is something, we it's a good podcast to talk about. Like, how much do we get affected by a return? Like Watkins last week was a really weird thing where I went into the week before Watkins played his game in Gameweek 36. I basically sent out this tweet and I was like, look, Watkins, can you play more than 75 minutes? Because you'd be a great differential to get in.
Yeah.
And nobody's thinking about getting you. He's playing Spurs. He's 100% EO, 110% EO. It's just crazy. So what we talk about on this podcast on a Monday as a differential, like Evanilson, if Isak is out, Evanilson's 80% EO.
I think at the end of the season even more because there becomes an obvious transfer, and I don't even think it is herd mentality groupthink. It's just like this player's out or this player's under conviction. This player does. Yeah. This is the move. And Isak to Evanilson will become very popular if Isak's out, but it's kind of like, rightly so, he's probably the best forward to bring in. I do the same as you, and I think you do this on purpose. It's like tweeting it before the outcomes so that it doesn't look like you're knee-jerking.
Exactly.
So I tweeted, I think on the Saturday, I was like, currently my Gameweek 38 captain, and it was Jared Bowen. And I thought, because there's a chance, I know if he returns, everyone's going to go there. So I'm glad I got that tweet out before. But I still think, for people that are looking at De Bruyne to Bowen or bringing in Jared Bowen, he's got to be top 2 or 3 midfielders to own to bring him.
So based on form, based on talismanic tendencies that he's showing, yeah.
Perfect. Right, next game, you said we'll get to it. Liverpool Palace. We're recording this again, so we might look like absolute idiots, or there might be players that are injured. We're recording this before the Monday night game between Brighton and Liverpool. Slot did say before this that this isn't going to be the Liverpool we know. This is basically just a throwaway game. Right. But the final game of the season, that's the Liverpool that we'll know will be back. There are some really high upside players, and I think Salah captaincy will still gain you a bit, even though he'll be maybe the most popular captain, no more than about 150, 160% EO, so you're still gaining a bit. You've got the likes of Luis Diaz, Gakpo. If you can get a leak or predict the minutes on this game, final home game of the season, it feels like one of the high upside. We'll all go to Bournemouth players. We'll all go to Arsenal. Liverpool win 4-0 against Palace. You wouldn't be surprised.
I won't be. And we'll talk about my differentials, and I feel somebody other than Salah could be the shrewdest pick. Like if you knew Diaz is starting, if you knew Gakpo is starting, forget about Evanilson, forget about Kluivert. Yeah. Like I think those are 2 amazing picks because like you said, Slot has now said we're going to train properly. We were in Dubai or doing whatever. Yeah. They have the Monday game. Now they'll have 5 days to prep for this Palace game. It's the final home game. Crystal Palace couldn't care less. I mean, Henderson was singing in his balcony in terms of, we finished 12th or whatever. And so this is a game which I see a lot of goals in. And there's upside here because you're actually backing a really, really good team that can score 4 or 5 goals.
I was looking at if Isak is out or if he's a major doubt, just Isak to Gakpo, if we get a leak that he starts, is like so high upside. And it's, again, swerving Evanilson fine, but you've got a perfectly viable alternative. Diaz would be the one that I want, though. I saw, we like narratives, but I saw a little narrative of like Salah's chasing this assist record so much. Who's going to be the one on the end of the Salah assists? Probably Luis Diaz if he's playing as the 9. So you could see a Diaz brace, Salah 2 assists. He gets the assist record, and Diaz gets the couple of goals. I mean, that is very much falling into a narrative, and I think he's going to be a difficult player to try and get to, Luis Diaz, because of that price point.
Yep.
So I think if you don't want to go Jared Bowen, Luis Diaz is fine. Trent Bradley, probably not worth the risk unless we get a leak. But then do they make it to 60, whoever does start?
Yeah, this is the issue. Like, you would think Trent comes on or starts, gets some minutes as his final appearance, out of respect. But I guess we're creating narratives here, right? Yeah. So, like, if Bradley starts again tonight, and again, people listening, no, then you kind of seeing a theme where Bradley is starting now every game since Trent has announced he's leaving. So, maybe then Bradley has huge upside. You have him, right?
Yeah, I have him. And I kind of feel like the benefit of playing a player is what we saw with Jamie Vardy. If they get that big standing ovation, it's very emotional, romantic story of... It's not going to be like that with Trent. Like Liverpool fans, especially at Anfield, have made it very clear they don't want to see him on the pitch ever again. So I almost feel like Bradley will start this. Yeah. I don't see what the benefit would be. And I think Slot needs to be really careful here because I started to see some Liverpool fans of like, Slot, you can go with him kind of thing of like getting really angry that he gave him this big hug and he played him and they're like, we don't want to see that. So I think for Slot, it's probably more important to be on the side of the Liverpool fans. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bradley does start the final game. It's just probably not something I would risk just in case, because the last thing you want is a 20-minute cameo at the end of the game. Yeah,
and the counter narrative to if you don't want to start Bradley is, what's Salah going to be telling Bradley? Give me the ball. I need to cross it in, not you.
Yeah.
So maybe the XA is slightly lower than it would be normally.
Absolutely. So what you're telling me is Bradley will underlap and score the goal.
Oh yeah, that's possible.
That's possible as well. So yeah, unfortunately, because we're not seeing the Liverpool game, we'll probably leave it there on them. But maybe just on Crystal Palace, if you had to play a Sarr as a Mateta,
Don't mind it.
won't be the end of the world.
Yeah, so if you're sitting in a position where, let's say, you have other priorities and you have Isak and Sarr as your 7th and 8th attackers, then you just chance it with Isak, especially if he's not ruled out by Eddie Howe. And then if you have Sarr coming on, again, like we said, it could be anything. It could be a 3-3 game, right? It could be an open game because defense isn't the priority in games like this.
I was just looking, Sarr strikes me as the sort of, I don't know if it was just my poor memory, but I'm looking back, he gets goals in some bigger games, right? He had the goal against Arsenal, 13-pointer against Villa. He's not the sort of player that is just a flat track bully and just loves scoring against weaker teams. He doesn't mind popping up with a goal or at least a big chance.
Yeah, and Robertson, he'll be on the Robertson side as well, which has tended to be weaker.
Exactly, absolutely. So yeah, I wouldn't mind having to start. I wouldn't deliberately do it though. Like, I think if you've got Rodgers, Wisser, etc., you obviously start them instead. Man United Villa. Pras, I'm so nervous about Wednesday. I think this is the most nervous I've been about a Man United game in 10 plus years.
I think it was the Ajax final, the last time when we were in the so not even the one we lost later, because that Ajax final was a Mourinho final, and it was like we were going to win a European trophy after a while. Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. Even talking about it, I'm a bit nervous.
It feels sickening. Like I think there's just so many parts to it. It's firstly Spurs. I don't want Spurs playing Champions League football, and obviously they then have one up over us. It's just giving them the confidence for next season. It's the financial benefit as well. We've even heard that the likes of Liam Delap, which is crazy to say, but he's waiting to see if we get Champions League football.
Yeah.
We know that Gyökeres still hasn't made a decision, and apparently he'll make a decision in the next few days. That seems very convenient that he's going to make a decision in 3 or 4 days. So it does feel like 4 or 5 really good players, and even Cherki as well. Like there are so many players that are just waiting. And I'm not saying that if we get Champions League football, all of a sudden everyone comes to us, but it just gives you that extra bit of pull financially and also reputationally. So this feels like the biggest game in recent history for Man United. I'm so nervous.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you get to basically skip 4 or 5 years of progress.
It's a shortcut, yeah.
So you get to sign some of these players. Now, will it work out? We don't know. We could blow that money and it doesn't work out. But yeah, you get access to skipping 5 years, and that seems very good. Tottenham have our number though.
3 games in a row that beat us, yeah.
So I'm extra nervous because it's Spurs. But we'll see, right? I mean, in terms of priorities, of course, in the game that we played against Chelsea, I was really pleased to see the team, the lineup, the motivation. I think it was a solid performance. The loss was okay. You can lose a game. But against a Chelsea-type team who had everything to play for, I think Man United gave a good showing.
Yeah, less than 1 XG Chelsea managed in that game. I think Manchester United are defending much better. Right. We're not a good team. And I think as soon as I try and say United are defending better, it's like, biased Man United fan, all of the comments. But I'm not saying we're good, but we're certainly just look a little bit more structured and disciplined. If this was Villa versus Manchester United rather than Manchester United versus Villa, if this was at Villa Park, I would be saying all aboard Villa. Like, they're better at Villa Park. It wouldn't be our final home game of the season. So we'd have literally no reason to really play our key assets. The fact that it is at Old Trafford, maybe us winning or losing the Europa League final might change it, but I don't see us going full rotation. I'm not expecting, I'd expect Bruno to start. I'd expect some of our key assets to start. So what do you feel about starting Villa players, bringing them in? For example, like for me, if I make a couple of moves, I'd have to choose between like benching Rodgers and Wisser. And I'm like, is benching Rodgers crazy? I'm not really sure. But I watched Villa against United in the past, and it's kind of a matchup that often goes a little bit stale.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to work out on what is better for Villa. If
we win or lose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't think it matters that much. I mean, if Man United win, then they don't care about the game. Maybe there's more rotation. But even if they lose, then there's a lot of people will be down, and so I just think it's a good fixture for Villa. Like, it's a team that's in the bottom 5.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything to overthink it. Play your Villa players, like they have to go for it. Like, imagine it's a game where it's 1-1, and what's Villa doing at that moment? They're going all out attack. Ollie Watkins plays 90 minutes. Rodgers anyway plays 90 minutes. They have to go for it. There's no other choice. So just the game state element of it means you have to play your Villa attackers. Defenders, again, for the reason that you mentioned, if you have other choices, so I'm probably going to be benching Konza if everyone else is fit. That feels okay as well, because it is a game at Old Trafford. You'd think that they would be up for it, at least from an attacking sense.
I think it will depend what happens in the early stages of the game, because I think if United go 1 up or it's 0-0, then we're going to see goals.
Yeah.
If Villa go 1 or 2 up early, they're going to pass around the defence. Yeah, they won't have anything to go for. And at that stage, we might see, because they've got 3 clean sheets on the balance, 1-0, 1-0, 2-0.
Yeah.
We might see another sort of game there. So I think start your Villa players if you can. I think Konsa is fine to bench, but I'll have to start him, I think, this week. And I'm pretty happy to do so. Yeah, absolutely. Newcastle, Everton. So Isak wasn't in the squad, but that's fine because we've got Eddie Howe, who's traditionally very transparent in the press conferences. So apparently he travelled with the squad to Arsenal, then felt an issue with his groin and had a scan on Sunday morning, which picked up a small issue, and they decided to leave him out. I'm not sure if that exact timeline is truthful or not. We probably will never know. Some are saying that he was left out because he was at such a slight doubt, could have played, but they thought, you know what, if we lose to Arsenal, we can still then beat Everton.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't buy that. Because I just think Eddie Howe wouldn't say, we'll throw the Arsenal game, but we'll beat Everton. I think he'd want to try and beat Arsenal. So I think there's a real issue here. It's not like Saliba, though, as we'll discuss, where there's no point risking him. There's every point risking him. Like, absolutely. I think you tweeted as well, like Newcastle probably have to get 3 points here.
Yep.
Or they need to go in with that mindset. I think Isak, if he had one-legged start.
This is what I think. And maybe it's owner's bias or whatever. I just think maybe there is this case of, you know what, if we lose we could play you, lose to Arsenal, and then lose you for Everton. So if we can save you for Everton, basically they know if they win Everton, they've qualified.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a question of people who say, should I sell Isak or not? It's exactly why you should wait, right? I mean, maybe we'll see him in training and that's all you need to see. Maybe you don't see him in training and then you can decide accordingly. So again, it's early to say, but it feels like, like you said, all the motivation is there. Wilson looked so rusty. So, like, if Isak was playing, I'm sure that Newcastle would have scored. They had like 5 shots in the first 20 minutes where Raya made those 5 saves and then did nothing else for the rest of the game. So
it does feel like classic. It's the content creator's catchphrase, but if he's fit, he'll start or he'll miss out altogether, right? I don't see them carrying Isak on the bench here. So maybe keep Isak unless we get, if he's ruled out, obviously sell him, but keep him. And then just make sure you've got a decent first sub and make sure you think about your bench properly. And I would say in 38, there's a chance 2-3 of your players think about bench order probably even more than you normally do.
In this particular instance, I'm going to say if he's even unfit, maybe he's on the bench because they're desperate in the last 30 minutes. And
maybe. Yeah, I suppose there's a chance.
It's just like all narratives at this stage, right? So I'm just trying to think, can they afford to keep him out of the squad altogether? Even if, Wilson starts, it's 0-0, 70th minute, and they go, you know what, you have a whole summer to recover, just go, throw you on. So in this case, I feel maybe because it's last game of the season, there is a little bit of cameo risk as well.
It would really help me if he was a major doubt, because like in my team, if I sell Isak, I could just do Isak to even Ilson, something like that, and start Rodgers. Whereas if I sell Sarr, I then probably have to bench Morgan Rogers. So selling Isak just sorts me out in terms of a benching headache. And also it gives me a route to even Ilson or someone like that. So I'm fully on board with the narrative that Isak could be a risk. So what are your early ideas then if, let's say we get nothing from Howe, nothing from the press and nothing from training photos, and we go into it with Isak being a major doubt. If that's the case, what are your early ideas with what you would do?
So I have the other complication that I need to wait for De Bruyne leak as well.
Yeah.
So this is where like I said, I wish I had Bowen, and then this guy is at least sorted.
Yep.
So if I'm in a scenario where I've not heard on Isak at all, and I'm 50-50 on whether he starts, I'll probably just start him, just on the knowledge. And if I've seen him in training, like you hear something. And so if you feel like he's okay, then I'll play him because I think he's a captaincy shout if he starts.
I agree.
Because Everton, again, narrative building, but they've had their day in the sun. They've had their final day. And so, they don't care. So Newcastle are here good for 3 goals. Again, it'll be reflected in my differential picks. And I just really, really like that matchup for Isak. So I'm going to play him. And so my thinking would be if De Bruyne then is benched, then just do De Bruyne to somebody like a Saka and then just hope for the best. Have Sarr come on. If De Bruyne is also benched, then maybe just, if De Bruyne is also starting, maybe do Sarr to a Kluivert or something like that. So that would be the thinking. My flowcharts will be ready by Friday.
Do you remember what happened in Gameweek 38 with Isak last year?
Do I? No.
He was a slight doubt going into 38. I think people bought and started Wilson and he got a 14-pointer.
Yes, that was against Brentford, I think, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember my girlfriend, FPL Pickle, she benched him, started Wilson, and then Isak came on from the bench for a 14-point auto sub. So all I would say is Eddie Howe is a liar, or at least he conceals the truth. I would not be surprised if Isak starts, even if he does have some issue. So my early thought is, unless he's ruled out, I'll probably keep. But hopefully we get something. The only final thing is Newcastle are traditionally the worst team for leaks in terms of there are so many fakers.
Not only are they bad, they're actually negative.
Yeah,
you could have bad news. Yeah,
like there are some teams we just don't get leaks, but with Newcastle, there are 4 or 5 accounts that truly guess every week. So maybe follow Pras and I on Twitter. And if we share something, it's because we believe it's true. If we don't share it, it probably means that it's an account that we don't trust. I've got so many Newcastle ITKs blocked. So
Same here.
yeah, absolutely. I think the game of the game week absolutely is Forest Chelsea.
Yeah.
Why I don't know what to expect here. Like if you told me this was 0-0, I'd go, yeah, I'm not surprised. Chelsea are really good defensively. Forest across the season have been. They're both going to be afraid to lose the game, so maybe they won't go and win it. But then at the same time, like if it is 0-0 after 17, someone's got to make a move of some kind. So I think I expect goals in this game. But the two teams aren't like free-flowing teams particularly, are they?
I'm with you. This to me feels like a 1-0 game to either team because let's think of it like a game theory. Like what is Chelsea thinking? They could even qualify with a draw, of course, and a win would be great.
Yep.
But then they would not play into Forest's hands and basically go all out attack because that's what they want.
Yep.
Also, if Forest, the Forest model is let's sit back and then we'll counter. They've probably got the best midfield, Chelsea, in terms of countering these. Like Caicedo, Lavia, these guys know how to stop counters. So I think it's a good matchup for Chelsea. It's an away game. So I just feel like it's one of those stalemates kind of game, and then Chelsea hope to score a bit like, how the Man United game went, where they ended up scoring, in the 60th, 70th minute. And I feel like it's going to be a 1-0 Chelsea win, or if Nottingham Forest score early, then the game opens up. So
7 at the back, just defend. Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, I think I was just looking at their game earlier this season. It was fairly low XG 1-1. I don't maybe see 2. I think it's so many of these are game state dependent where one goal in the 3rd minute, it changes the whole outlook. It could be 5-5, whereas no goals for the first 60 and it's going to probably be a 1-0. So
the other thing with Forest is there's also this point of people keep tabs with scores. So if Villa are comfortably winning at Man United, if Newcastle are comfortably winning, Man City are comfortably winning, then actually it's not even in Forest's hands.
No.
So you just never know. It could be, I think the idea would be just keep it tight. Both teams would have the same thing. Keep it tight. Let's not concede. Let's see how the game state develops and then we'll take it. So I don't bet, but a 0-0 at halftime would be my prediction.
I've been at the City ground 3 or 4 times across the last couple of seasons. That is a major advantage. I don't want to just do the really lazy narrative of Forest are playing at home, therefore they'll win. But the City ground is a different beast. And we've seen that across the seasons that, especially for a game like this, I think the crowd will be right up for that. So I'm so excited. In all honesty, I'll probably have that game on out of all of them. That's the game that I want to watch the most from a footballing perspective. On Cole Palmer, lots of people bought Palmer and just said, well, obviously I'll just do Palmer to Saka in 38. I would be very tempted to keep Palmer. I know we said we think this could be low scoring and he's been horrible, right? For about 4 or 5 months without an open play goal. But it's Palmer. And I'm just of the opinion on pens, on some set pieces, play 90 minutes, there's a chance.
See, with motivation comes minutes. So he's going to play the whole game.
Yeah.
And so you may believe in form or not, but again, it's for 1 week, right? And you're trying to prioritize who you lose. So if you went for Palmer, you clearly believed that there's something there. Of course, the Man United fixture was the money fixture that you were trying to go for. So I think he could be a hold. And what muddies the waters is Arsenal. And again, we'll come to Arsenal, is we have no clue what kind of team they will put out. So if we get hints, and if you see momentum building towards people buying Saka, then it's a different story. Then maybe you want to cover it or he becomes a captaincy. But I think on Palmer, what I'll say is he's 200 plus points. We'll come to quiz. I'm sure there'll be a Palmer question. 200 plus points on penalties, 90 minutes. I mean, I think he deserves more respect. I know he's not in form, but he's a good pick.
Yeah, like I think I had Palmer listed as the 4th best captain. And I'm glad, I know you are someone that uses models a lot and algorithms and underlying data. And I'm glad that you spoke up of saying, I didn't think Palmer was the best captain in 37. And I was of the same opinion, but he wasn't a bad one. Just because we didn't think he was like clearly at the top. He certainly wasn't bad. And on another day.
I had issue with the fact that he was seen as the best pick by a distance, which I just was confused by last week.
Absolutely. So again, if you've gone down the Palmer route and you've got him, let's wait and see, especially around Arsenal, what we expect from them. But I think he's a perfectly fine hold, especially if you've got like Saliba, Isak, Palmer. At that stage, Palmer's probably not the biggest issue.
Yeah.
We said we'll talk about Southampton, Arsenal. This feels like the game where we should all be going. There's a quote going around with Arteta that was it missed off the first little bit. So the quote that was going around is that Arteta said, we'll go to the beach, enjoy a few days. That was correctly quoted, but they missed out the first 3 words, which was finish the season, then go to the beach, and then enjoy a few days. He was basically saying, we'll have a bit of a relax, then reset. The guys upstairs will do the transfer business. But he did start the quote with finish the season.
Right.
So I think it would have seen that quote. I don't think would have this panic. But at the same time, Arsenal have not mathematically secured second, because I think if City win like 5-0, 5-0, and they lose, then there's a chance. But they're going to get second place. They've got Champions League football. There are lots of players like Saka coming back from his injury. Ødegaard doesn't look quite right. Saliba pulls up with a hamstring issue. You don't need, like, Havertz just coming back from injury. Do you need, Trossard keeps going down injured with little niggles here and there. Like, you don't need to play these players. Timber as well, another player that just, I wouldn't be surprised if we see mass rotation.
This is where I am as well. So it doesn't need to be that he doesn't need to say it.
Yeah.
But I just think, again, we have to be careful about teams who've had their final home game already. They've said their goodbye to the fans and they've had a long, grueling season. They've gone very late stages in the Champions League. Obviously had a long season in the league like everyone else. So I just think they are carrying a lot of these niggles. And for those players, it's very easy to say, you know what, sit it out. It's fine. We'll play in Nwaneri, who's had an amazing season. So I'm not scaremongering. Like I could myself I had penciled in De Bruyne to Saka, captain this week. But I'm just second guessing a little bit. Like I want to see them training. I want to see another quote where from Arteta on a Friday saying, you know what, we're going to go for it. It's going to set a marker for next season. That'll be nice to see. Saka coming off 75th minute in the previous game. Again, another little yellow flag, right? Because what is he doing by taking him off? He's sending the message that I want to still protect you. There's no chance I want to make this any worse. It was Newcastle. It was still 1-0. So would you be shocked if Saka doesn't start? I wouldn't be shocked, but I still think he does.
I think at the moment, this is, unless we get a leak, even if Arteta comes out and says Saka's starting, I don't trust Arteta firstly, but this would be enough to put me off captaining him at the moment. Yeah. Unless, again, something happens, like maybe if a Nwaneri picked up an injury or something, or we get a leak, then maybe. But I don't think it would be quite enough to put me off buying him if I felt like it was the best move for my team and I had an easy route to him. I think for you, being able to do De Bruyne to Saka and De Bruyne himself being a bit of a minute's risk, it feels a lot easier. For someone like me, I've got to take a -4 hit and sell an Isak. And I know Isak's a doubt, but then I could just do something else for free, which maybe would save the money. And if I'm not captaining Saka at that point, is it worth breaking my team and taking a hit to do it? So this might have offered people a good excuse to maybe swerve if it's difficult. As of right now, then, I'll ask the same question I did with Isak. If we were to get no leak, we were to get nothing from Arteta, he's in training, we see all of that. Do you think, and let's say Isak's fine.
Yeah.
So you got the Isak fine. Do you still think you would lean towards doing that? Or do you think you might do something like Bowen or Kluivert in instead?
If Isak's fine, and I know for a fact he's fine, then I would be doing De Bruyne to Saka.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the biggest upside pick this week for me.
And would you feel comfortable giving him the armband without any? Okay. So
there is that doubt that I wouldn't give him the armband because, like I said, Salah scored. You guys are listening to it. I'm very bullish on Salah, Gameweek 38.
Okay, perfect. Would you be tempted to go for any other options? Like if we expect mass rotation, Marino didn't play in 37. Maybe he's the one that leads the line. Martinelli's been getting really good minutes as well. Interest going there. Calafiori might start this one with Saliba being an issue.
Ben White. So Ben White could be an interesting one. So we've heard today that Timber's going to be out. And so Ben White we all remember from free hit 34 last season.
So 27 points, 29 points, something like that. Yeah.
I didn't have him, but so we all we all remember in different ways. And so I think he's got that upside if you wanted to go there. Apart from that, I think with Arsenal, it's punt territory. Like anyone could start, anyone could do well. It's very hard to give a name.
So this is why it just feels like if I was going for a midfielder now, Kluivert, Semenyo, they'll probably start Kirkes rather than White. It might be worth the upside of risking it, but at the same time, is it necessarily worth it? Like, do the Arsenal players have that much better upside than the Bournemouth players?
No.
Probably not for me. And like we said, even maybe the Liverpool players, if you think they're going to start. Saliba obviously subbed off at halftime. Apparently, he felt something in his hamstring.
He's not playing.
No, especially with a hamstring. Like that's the one where you don't take a risk with it. And like the last thing they need is him tearing his hamstring, needing surgery, missing the first few game weeks, and they'll just say, "For what? Why did he start?" So exactly. I think you can probably count Saliba out. Sadly.
A word on Raya. He's now joined with Sells for the Golden Glove.
Yep.
So as a Raya owner, I'm actually quite happy with that he should start and go for the outright winner. Not only that, because I have Kiwior as well, they will want to keep the clean sheet so that Raya gets it. Now, that doesn't mean Arsenal doesn't want to keep a clean sheet in other games, but it just means that they will continue to basically concentrate, stay robust. It's not a Gameweek 38 fixture from that sense if they really want to keep that clean sheet.
Yeah, because you could imagine normally this might be a bit of a party game, neither have anything to play for, whereas the defence is still going to want that individually or as a unit. So yeah, I saw some people saying they think Neto might start. I think Raya has to start this.
I will go for Golden Glove. I feel so.
Absolutely. There was just on that, there was a question. I did a small amount of digging, but not too much, about are we expecting a bit of a goal fest in Gameweek 38? There's this narrative that often goes around that we see tons more goals. From your experience, is that something you see, or is it normally 1 or 2 games? Do we see less clean sheets? Like, what are you expecting?
I expect goal fests. I expect fewer clean sheets. Yes, I think now there is this fake image of some. Is that Boxing Day or Gameweek 38?
Yeah, it was like 10-1. Yeah.
So no, you can never predict it, but you always use the 5-5 Man United West Brom. I don't know if you remember when Lukaku scored 4 goals. So those games can happen. Will they happen? We don't know. And which one will it be? Again, we don't know because it's so game state dependent. So it's very hard to predict that. But yes, there is a higher likelihood of goals, which in return means lower likelihood of clean sheets.
Anecdotally, I think a lot of the games seem to be very similar, but there's always like 1 or 2 that go 10 to 12 goals in those games, which I think skew it a lot. So I was looking last season. So last season, we had an average of 32.5 goals per game week on average for that season. And in Gameweek 38, there were 37. So we had an extra 5 goals. So there was a marginal uptick. And we had 4 clean sheets, which was just below the season average. Right. So we're talking about less than 1 clean sheet lower than the average and only 5 goals more.
Yeah.
So again, we're not seeing this crazy like 5-5 in every single game, but we might see some. And it might be just trying to target the games that we think. And I do think Spurs Brighton could have goals in it because Spurs will be after the Europa League final. Brighton will have a possibility for 8th. Whether or not that will be Europe, we won't know because we need to wait for the Europa Conference League final. But I could see Brighton scoring a couple. I could see Spurs scoring a couple. This could be a 2-2, 3-3 kind of game.
This is Spurs away as well, right?
Yes, yeah.
So this is the difference between the Man United game we talked about with Aston Villa, where Spurs wouldn't want to travel no matter what. They've just traveled to Bilbao. Yep. They just lost the Europa League final. Would they really want to be keen on?
That's going to get clipped when we lose now. Welbeck and João Pedro, I think, are the only 2 I'd be tempted by. João Pedro's pens, good data, bit of a troll. Welbeck obviously just made over 10 Premier League goals, which is pretty cool. We're recording this again before the game between Brighton and Liverpool. So if Welbeck or João Pedro look particularly good in that game, then maybe.
Yeah.
Would there be any interest? Like, let's say even Ilson starts becoming the new Watkins, where everyone is buying him. Any possibility that you would go there? Or do you think you would try and swerve Brighton?
The problem is if both João Pedro and Welbeck are fit, then none of them are 100% nailed.
Yep.
Like, if we're talking about any player being, will he start? Then he probably isn't the best pick, especially because we know Ivan Ilson's going to start. So it becomes a little bit of a doubt. Now, if somebody picks up an injury today between Welbeck and Pedro, not to wish it on anyone, but if it does, then the guy who's fit would be on pens as well.
Perfect. Final game, Wolves versus Brentford. Wissa and Mbeumo are just such an elite combo. It genuinely is at the stage now where you have to own both. Like, you can't own one. You own Mbeumo and not Wissa, your rank falls. Next season is going to be really interesting. I don't think Mbeumo stays, most likely. If they can't keep a hold of Wissa as well, that's a massive loss. Wherever Brian Mbeumo goes, his price is going to be so interesting for next year. I don't know what this is going to end up at, but it will impact. I don't think he'll end up at Man United, but if he does, he's not on penalties in a million years, especially if Cunha's also there. You've got Cunha, Bruno, loads of people wanting to take them, not just because he missed one this week, of course. Even if he goes to Newcastle, Isak will take it. If he goes to Arsenal, Saka might take it.
Yeah.
If he goes to, I don't even know who else he might go to, but I think if I look at all of the other Prem teams that are in for him, he's probably not on pens. Might not be on, if he goes to Arsenal, he wouldn't be on set piece. If he goes to United, he might take set pieces, but he's going to lose a little bit of his appeal there. He's a player where if they're not careful with it and they get silly with like 9.5 million or something, he could be a non-option at the start of next season.
It happens to certain players. This is why, early season we talk about, I've put X player in my draft. And all of that is just, for fun.
Yep.
Because these transfers would change everything. Like, Cole Palmer, nobody was picking him last season. Game week 9, he joins Chelsea or he starts starting for Chelsea and he becomes the best pick in the game. So yeah, I think Mbeumo's a good player because he's on penalties. Yes, he's got 200 plus points and everything else, but the appeal was if Wissa was on penalties and not Mbeumo, people would be buying Wissa and not Mbeumo.
I saw quite a few questions and I guess I am in a similar position myself where this is something that's somewhat tempting. If your team is perfection, let's say Isak's fine, you don't have any other injuries, your defense looks good. How do you feel about Wissa to Ivan Ilson as a single standalone transfer? Let's say you've got a very similar front 7 to us, but you've got Bowen, right? They don't have any transfers to make. Would you feel comfortable selling Wissa? Because I looked at this and I thought Ivan Ilson is better than Wissa. I'd much rather Ivan Ilson. I don't think I'd want to sell Wissa.
Now, Wissa's touching, 60-70% ownership. So you are taking a massive gamble in terms of EO. Now, if that's your goal, if you want to do that, fair enough. And when you take that, what happens is you can either be burnt by 10 points or you can make up 10 points. So if you're happy to take that chance, sure. And there is that, you would expect Evanilson in a particular week to score more. But I think this is a perfect example. Even when people talk about hits or when they talk about transfers in, everyone got Wissa in the week where he was playing at Ipswich. He gets 1 point.
Yeah.
But even if you took a hit, you'd be like, what an idiot. Why did I get Wissa away to Ipswich? He repays it the week where maybe you didn't expect it. Fulham at home is a good fixture, but not an amazing fixture. Yeah. He gets you the 10 points. This is the thing with in one game, it's very difficult to say whether Evanilson or Wissa will do well. I just think Wissa is a very good pick and it's hard to sell him.
I'm looking at a position again where if I make the moves that involve keeping Isak, then I would have to start Wissa or Rodgers. Where do you stand on that right now? I say it's an individual decision, but I think some other people have a very similar sort of front eight. It feels like Rodgers' fixture's marginally better, you'd imagine, and he's a midfielder, extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet. Rodgers is a big game player. He likes these occasions. So narrative-wise, I'm just going Rodgers. And then I look at the data and it's like, how on earth do you bench Wissa for Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean, I had to push. Now, to start with saying Rodgers is a good pick this week. It's Man United. But to also say that Asensio starting doesn't help Rodgers. Like, he's not getting into the same space. Now, he's got two assists in 2 games. He's doing fine. But we were seeing him doing a lot more previously. Whether the data reflects that or not, I'm not very sure. But just from the eye test, on the right is not as perfect for him. Asensio played 90 minutes in the previous game. So the more Asensio plays in the middle, less space for Rodgers to basically create those chances or even be at the end of some of the chances. So I think at a push, I would recommend starting both. But at a push, I'd bench Rodgers.
Perfect. Can you final home game? I don't know what narrative I want to buy here. Gets a send-off, early sub, scores a hat-trick. Not really sure what I expect from him. Does he even start? I mean, we haven't seen, again, the Tuesday game between them and Crystal Palace, so that might affect it. I don't think I'd want to go there, though, just in case.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. Like, there's other good strikers this week that you can go. Like, if people didn't go for Watkins, it's not too late to get Watkins. Let's say you have Isak and you didn't have Watkins. I think Watkins is, after Evanilson, the second best striker you can get this week. Maybe you can argue it's Wissa or others, but that would be higher up in my list than Cunha.
Absolutely. Cool. Right. So those are the games previewed. What we've got next, Pras, and I know you're a little bit nervous for this, is a quiz. So guys, for one final time, we'll just talk a little bit about Club, which is a free-to-play fantasy football mobile game that have supported FPL Therapy all season. And as I say, I am a shareholder within the company, and I truly believe in this game. I think it's going to go to the very top, and I think very, very soon, pretty much everyone you know will be playing this. So get on it early, understand the game for one final game week this season, but then ahead of next season, I know there are some massive upgrades coming. This is my team going into Gameweek 38 as things stand. Pretty good. Like forward line, I'm happy to have Isak if he's fit. Palmer's great. I've got Declan Rice against Southampton if he plays, although maybe that's a little bit suspect. But there are some decent players like Morgan Rogers against United. I'd say the weakest part of my team is maybe my defence. I've got triple Wolves against Brentford because I just don't have many other defenders. So maybe a defender if you're going to try and give me the player that might boost my team. I'll collect my cash while we're here. I'll collect the tokens, and that is your man right there giving the tokens as the director of football. But yeah, I'll pass the phone to you. All you have to do is click Meet Now. It will then say tap to reveal. All right, and then it will go through each of, so yeah, tap to reveal. So it's core, so base, core. Does it go to rare? Nope. So this is going to be a lower player, but they might still be useful.
It's a Leicester midfielder.
They're not useful then.
El Khanous is good.
El Khanous is decent. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I thought that was going to end up being like something really rubbish then. Yeah, he's got some decent scores actually, El Khanous. That somehow worked out okay. I'll sign him as a bit of cover, and as a cheaper asset as well. My current bench has got like Jones and Gundogan, so he might end up being a decent option. But yeah, if you want to check out Club, like I say, it's coming towards the end of the season, but downloading it ahead of next season. I'll be talking about it plenty more next season as well. Obviously, when you download the game, the first face that you'll come across is mine as I introduce you to it. So that's a nice, cool feature as well. But yeah, thank you to Club. Thank you for all of your support this season, and do make sure to download it with the link down below. Cool. So, guys, because this is Gameweek 38, and we've obviously gone through the games, then we'll talk about our team plans a little bit later and differentials as well. I thought we'd have a bit of fun with it, and we've just got a short quiz. Now, if this isn't for you, I would skip maybe like 20, 30 minutes. If you're on YouTube, it will be timestamped. If you're on audio, maybe just skip through. But it should be a little bit of fun. Even if you don't want to play along, you can just listen because there are some really interesting stats that I found in here. But Pras...
I'm nervous.
As soon as I told Pras there was going to be a quiz, he was very nervous. But it should be challenging because I don't think there's any fun playing a quiz where you just get 100%, at least for me. But there are questions in here where if you followed along, you know your stats and you've had a bit of a think, you can get it right. Obviously, no cheating, I should say as well. just to test that the quiz actually worked, I did this with FPL Pickle, who, by the way, now is like 500th in the world or something,
Crazy,
which is ridiculous.
Crazy. And she had the missed pen from Mbuma as well. She captured him.
And she had Asensio on a bench boost for the 2 missed pens. And she had the Eze missed pens. She had 4 missed pens recently.
She should win FPL.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, so she had a go at this and she got 19 out of 36.
19, okay. So that's the score I cannot beat.
19 is, yeah, exactly. And you'll obviously have Praz's score that you can compete with as well, out of 36. So what we've got is 10 multiple choice questions, A, B, C, D. Then we've got 5 A or B, where you're choosing between 2 players for the answer. And then there are 5 what I'll call open questions at the end, where there aren't any options to choose from. You just need to generate the answer yourself. If Praz struggles at any point, I might give you one 50-50 and one potentially phone a friend if you want to. And the friend could be me if you need a bit of a clue.
Excellent.
But if there are any that are like you think that's so difficult, let me know. I'll give you a bit of a clue.
Does it go up in difficulty so I can save my clue? Okay.
No, it's not like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. These are just sort of standard questions. And then if you're watching along on YouTube, I've made a separate graphic, which took me about 2 hours. But anyway, I made a separate graphic for each question so you can visually look at it as well. If you're listening on audio, I'll try and repeat the options. You ready? How's your heart rate?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Question 1. Who is the top scoring assistant manager this season? Is it, and by the way, this is as of Monday afternoon because these things could change quite easily. Is it A, Thomas Frank, B, Arne Slot, C, Oliver Glasner, or D, David Moyes? Okay. Who is the top scoring assistant manager this season? So A, Thomas Frank, B, Arne Slot, C, Oliver Glasner, and D, David Moyes.
Yep, I know the answer here.
Oh, okay. Very confident.
He did me well when I had him.
Okay, perfect. Question 2. How many defenders have over 150 points this season? So over 150 points this season. Is it A, 0, B, 2, C, 4, or D, 6? So A0, B2, C4, D6.
I know there haven't been many. It's been disappointing, actually. Trent is the highest. I'm going to go 2, B.
Okay.
Should I say the answer?
You can say some of your answers as well. I'll give you at home a clue if you're struggling. Praz is along the right lines of there aren't many.
Right.
So it is quite a low scoring season for defenders for sure. Cool. Question 3. This is for you underlying stats nerds out there. Who has taken the most shots in the Premier League this season? Who has taken the most shots in the Premier League this season? Is it A, Eze, B, Salah, C, Palmer, and D, Semenyo? So the player that has taken the most shots is with 125 and second is 121. So it's quite close between first and second. So yeah, A, Eze, B, Salah, C, Palmer, or D, Semenyo.
Yeah, we have, there's a couple of good, interesting names out there, but Palmer's dipped off a lot, so I'm going to exclude him. So I think one of the others.
Perfect. These are quite difficult so far.
They're difficult.
Question 4. Which outfield player has the best value this season? And the way you work out value is total points divided by price. So you want a lot of points and preferably a cheaper price. So your options are A, Kevin Schade, B, Enzo Fernandez, C, Morgan Rogers, or D, Jacob Murphy. So A, Schade, B, Enzo, C, Rogers, D, Murphy. All of them cheap midfielders.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rogers the most expensive there, but we know he's done very well for points. I think Murphy the second cheapest, then Schade, then Enzo. But then you need to work out who's got more points. So you want, again, as much points as possible, but also a cheaper price. So A, Schade, B, Enzo, C, Rogers, D, Murphy.
I'm going to go.
This one, again, is very, very close. The one that has the best value is the only outfielder that has over 30 for their value score on FPL.
Right.
So they've done very well this season.
Yep.
Question 5. Which player has missed the most big chances in the Premier League this season? Is it A, Ollie Watkins, B, Erling Haaland, C, Isak, D, Salah?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because it could be any of these 4. They got a lot of chances, so they miss a lot.
So to give you an idea, the first place, the player that's missed the most big chances has missed 27. Second is with 22. So this player has missed 5 more big chances than second. So there's a relatively big gap here. So yeah, A, Watkins, B, Haaland, C, Isak, D, Salah.
I'm not going to beat Pickle.
27 big chances. A lot of big chances, by the way. Question 6. Which defender has the most bonus points this season? Most bonus points. So not baseline bonus, this is actual bonus points accumulated. Is it A, Saliba, B, Howson, C, Murillo, or D, Ola Aina? So A, Saliba, B, Howson, C, Murillo, D, Ola Aina. Remember, you've got a 50-50.
This one I know, I think.
Okay, perfect.
Because I picked him on before the free hit, I think.
Okay.
No, I picked him on in my Gameweek 29 team.
So this is testing people that follow your team. There you go. There's a little clue.
Yeah, I picked him in my Gameweek 29 team because I couldn't get to Milenkovic.
Okay, perfect. There we go. Little,
there's a clue on which
little
team.
Cheeky clue there. Absolutely. I was surprised when I was looking through the baseline bonus. I'll give you a clue, actually. Second place is Wan-Bissaka, who's not even on there as an option because I just thought no one would think it was him. He's got 15 bonus points this season, which was quite high. Next question. We spoke about talisman in this episode. Question 7. Which player has the highest percentage goal involvement for their team this season? So percentage goal involvement simply means if they get a goal or assist, they're involved in that goal. Is it A, Cunha, B, Bowen, C, Bruno, or D, Salah? As of right now, the highest in the Premier League is 58% this player is involved in.
Wow.
So over half their team's goals. Second place, also as one of these options, is 55. There are only 3 players in the Premier League this season involved in over 50% of their team's goals.
I mean, I have to pick a team that doesn't score a lot of goals.
Yeah, that would be a decent choice. So A, Cunha, B, Bowen, C, Bruno, and D, Salah. So yeah, Praz's clue there is actually correct there. Think about teams that don't score too often, which in fact is 3 of these. So you can rule Salah out. So yeah, A, Cunha, B, Bowen, C, Bruno, D, Salah. How are you feeling so far?
There's a lot in which I'm 50-50 about, so I'm not confident.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that 2 out of the 50-50s are right. 1 out of the 2 50-50s are right.
Okay. Question 8. Which team in the Premier League has the best conversion rate this season? Best conversion rate. Is it A, Liverpool, B, Wolves, C, Forest, or D, Brentford? I'll give you a clue because I think this is a difficult one. It surprised me. And I'll say how much it surprised me. Second place in the Premier League is Spurs.
Ooh.
So it's not necessarily what I expected. This team has a 12% conversion rate. So this means they've scored 12% of the shots they've taken.
And we're going for the highest.
The highest. That's the highest conversion rate in the Premier League of all teams this season.
My first instinct was Forest, but tell me the other options again.
So A, Liverpool, B, Wolves, C, Forest, or D, Brentford. All of these teams have players that have converted well, like Salah, Cunha, Wood, Wisser and Mbeumo. Like all of these have had players that have gone at a very high conversion rate this season. But yeah, 12% is the highest at the moment, and this team is in first. Spurs second is crazy.
I'll go for the manager that came on Monday Night Football and really talked about big chances, big chance conversion.
That is true. Yeah, he did do that, didn't he? Yeah, only take high XG chances. Yeah, cool. Question 9, and I can't believe that these are the options, but how many times this season has Salah got 2+ returns in one game? Is it A, 10, B, 12, C, 14, or D, 16? So A, 10, B, 12, C, 14, or D, 16. So that could be a goal and an assist, 2 goals, 2 assists, as long as it's 2+ returns.
So he's not had a double digit since the wild card, so not since game week 29.
So yeah, how many times in the opening 29 games?
In the first 28 game weeks.
He was doing it every week at one point, wasn't he?
I'll go for half of them.
So yeah, so that would be C, 14. So A, 10, B, 12, C, 14, D, 16.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I would have gone for like 8 off the top of my head.
Like 0, 4.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Which goalkeeper has made the most... Sorry, this is question 10. Which goalkeeper has made the most saves in the Premier League this season? Is it A, Fleckham, B, Ramsdale, C, Sells, or D, Pickford? You didn't even need the options there.
He's made the most saves in all 5 leagues, actually.
So that is the stat that I was going to give. So yeah, to all of the top 5 leagues, this goalkeeper's made the most saves with 148. Second place in the Premier is 119. So it is very, very clear. I haven't owned
him ever.
No, I haven't.
Last season.
Yeah, I haven't owned him either. That can be a little clue. Although I don't think I've owned any of these 4 keepers here. So yeah, A, Flecken, B, Ramsdale, C, Sells, or D, Pickford. Any of the 10 you need repeating, or are you happy?
Are we on 10? I'm on 9.
Okay.
What did I miss?
So to read them back out again, question 1 was who is the top scoring assistant manager?
Yeah.
Then question 2, how many defenders have over 150 points this season?
Yeah.
Question 3 was who has taken the most shots in the Premier League this season?
Mm-hmm.
Question 4, which outfield player has the best value this season?
Yep.
Question 5, which player has missed the most big chances? Question 6, which defender has had the most bonus points?
Right.
Question 7, which player has the highest percentage goal involvement?
Which defender?
Which player has the highest percentage goal involvement? Question 8, which team in the Premier League has the best conversion rate?
Yeah.
Question 9, how many times this season has Salah got 2+ returns?
Yeah, that's the one I missed.
And then question 10 was which goalkeeper has made the most saves. So those are your 10 multiple choice questions. If you need me to repeat any, basically just skip back because I would have had the graphic on the screen and read them out. So those are your first 10. The next 5 are just A, Bs.
Okay.
So it's going to be who has scored more points
Okay.
and then 2 players.
Okay.
Some of these are really close. Some of them aren't that close.
FPL points, simple.
FPL points,
Okay.
yep. So question 11, who has scored more points? A, Rodgers or B, Eze? Okay. This actually isn't as close as I thought. This one's the biggest gap between 2 players. So A, Rodgers, B, Eze.
Yep.
Who has scored more points? A, Raul Jimenez or B, Evanilson?
Yep.
There's currently 12 points between them, I think, here. A, Jimenez, B, Evanilson. Question 13, who has scored more points? I think there's 11 between them now. A, Cunha or B, Wissa? A, Cunha or B, Wissa? I think they're 4th and 5th or 3rd and 4th for forwards this year. Both approaching 200 points. So yeah, A, Cunha, B, Wissa. Question 14. Who has scored more points? And this is really, really close. A, Son or B, Saka? A, Son or B, Saka? Obviously, Son been very disappointing this season, but played a lot more games. A, Son, B, Saka.
Yep.
And question 15. Who has scored more points? A, 8 Nuri or B, Kirkez? A, 8 Nuri or B, Kirkez?
I think I did well in these.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Getting some points there.
Because I make all my decisions based on FPL points. So
I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Underlying data doesn't matter. Who got the most points? Yeah. Absolutely. So the final 5 questions then are open questions that require you, again, to have, you've got no options. If you need a clue, it probably means other people do. So if you're sat there thinking, I'm really not sure, I can give you a couple little hints that might help people.
Clue. So 50-50.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, you can use the 50-50 here, but instead as like an extra clue, basically. Right. Which 3 players in the Premier League have had 2 red cards this season? And this does include red cards, here's your clue, that have been rescinded. Okay. So as long as the red card was given in the game, doesn't matter if it was rescinded. There are only 3 players that have had 2 red cards this season.
There's Bruno. There is who's that Brentford player?
I won't be able to advise. Actually, I can give you some advice. There's not a Brentford player that's had 2 reds this season.
Oh no, Stevens. Okay, sorry for giving the answer away.
Yeah, keep the third one to yourself if you get it, maybe.
The third one is trickier.
I'm surprised there were only 3, actually. There were lots of players with 1 red card, but only 3 with 2.
I struggled with the third, I think.
So you can just write down a random guess, I suppose, for the third player. Just a player that you think might.
I'll square bracket it. Come back
it might come to you. Cool. So that's question 16. Question 17. Which 3 goalkeepers have 2 penalty saves this season? So 3 goalkeepers have saved 2 pens. Again, if you're unsure, just think who you know has definitely made a penalty save and they might have picked up a second.
I mean, Leno. Oh, sorry, again, give.
I would have got 2 of these, but the third I was quite surprised because I don't remember him even saving a penalty.
I mean, the Leno one is easy because free hit 34 and he saved 1 this weekend. Did I? Oh, that's not correct, is it? Oh, he didn't save it.
No
Sa
comment.
saved it in free hit 34.
No comment.
Sa.
So yeah, think to yourself which goalkeepers have made penalty saves, or at least are good penalty savers. So, for example, not David Raya, although he did save 1 more recently. But yeah, think about who do you not want to face in a penalty shootout?
Okay, so I think I have 3, but I'm not sure about the third one. Can I take a clue here or?
So,
I've got these 2 who I'm more sure about.
Okay, so one of the clues, and it'll help you with your third one, this player has been linked with a move away from their team this season, going into next season. They're a goalkeeper that a lot of people are after. I've seen at least 3 or 4 Prem clubs linked with them.
Cried when he was saying goodbye. Okay, got it.
So, right, question 18. Only 2 outfield players have played every available minute for their clubs. Who are they? So only 2 outfield players have been on the pitch for every single minute for their club. This isn't starting every game. For example, I'll give you a clue because I thought this player had. Brian Mbeumo has not. So he's been started every game, but he's been subbed off like 3 times.
Okay, so it has to be a centre-back.
So it's players. Okay, so that can be the clue. There are 2 centre-backs here. Yeah. So 2 centre-backs. Who are the 2 centre-backs that have played every available minute for their club? If you want another clue, I can give you one if you.
Yeah, that would be great.
They both play in red.
Oh.
That can be your clue.
So Murillo got injured. So he missed 1. So Aina got injured. Okay, so I know 1. Who else plays in red?
Yeah, this
is only red, not claret.
Not claret, but one of these teams, there isn't just red on their kit, but there is the predominant colour would be red. I think both of these got very close, if not did it last season as well. So they are ever present 2 seasons in a row kind of thing. They're very good for minutes.
Yeah, I'm struggling for the second. I'll put a square bracket.
Yeah, put a square bracket and then we can go back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was question 18. Which 2 outfield players have played every available minute? And again, in the Premier League for their teams, I should specify. There are only 4 players that have risen by 1 million or more in FPL this season. Who are they? That have risen by 1 million or more in value.
Yeah, I know them.
My clue to those listening that need a bit of help is none of them are defenders. So they're all midfielders or forwards.
They take pens.
So 4 players you've got, yep.
Oh, I need 4.
4 players.
Oh, hold
Which
on.
4 players have risen by 1 million or more in FPL this season?
Okay, so I have 3 for sure.
That can be a second clue, is they are all on pens.
Yes.
We love penalty takers.
We love penalty takers.
So yeah, 4 penalty takers that have all risen by 1 million or more in FPL this season.
I know the droppers. I don't know the risers.
The one you haven't got is the second biggest riser as well. He's risen by 1.2 million, the one you've not got. Started off at a cheaper price. Not too cheap, but cheaper. Cool. Right. Question 20 is the big boy. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this. There are 9 players to hit 20 plus points in a game week this season.
Ooh, okay.
Can you name them?
9 players.
There are 9. One of them, and this is a big clue, has done it 3 times.
Wow.
They count as 1 player. So there are 8 further players. I'll give you a couple more clues whilst you're thinking. So there are 9 players. This is question 20, the final one. There are 9 players to hit 20 plus points. Can you name them? I think 5 of these have hit hat tricks. So try and think who scored hat tricks. And all of them are midfielders.
Yep, I've got 4.
No defenders, no forwards.
This is why
all
we love
midfielders.
midfielders.
Yeah, so all midfielders, 9 players to hit 20 plus points in a game week this season. So to give you clues of the game weeks, there was one in game week 2 early on. Not a very popular player. He is a midfielder that did it in game week 2. 20 points. Got a hat trick.
Haaland got, oh yeah.
Yeah, he got 17.
Yeah.
One happened in game week 6. That was a big score. We then had a hat trick in game week 13. We had a hat trick in game week 21, 22, and 23. 3 weeks in a row that 3 midfielders got hat tricks. And then more recently, double game week 32, a player did very, very well, a midfielder. And in double game week 33, another midfielder did very well. So they're the more 2 recent ones, if you rack your brain. In double game week 32,
I'm struggling. Got 6.
2 teams doubled in the game week 32. One of the doublers did very well. And then in game week 33, again, one of the teams that doubled, one of the players maybe surprisingly started both games, and they were the one that hauled. So yeah, there are 9 players.
For Newcastle, it was one of the randoms, like a centre mid, like Tonali or something.
So yeah, in game week 32, it was a Newcastle mid that got the big score. He got 27
I don't remember
points.
if it was Bruno Guimaraes or Tonali. One of those went mad. Or Joe Linton.
I can't comment, but it was definitely a 27-pointer from a Newcastle midfielder. Yeah, that's correct. In game week 32.
Wasn't Murphy, because we own Murphy. Did we? I mean, I did, but he didn't do that well.
So yeah, so you've got 1, 2. Only 3 of these are on pens. Is your next
Oh my
clue?
God, I've got 5 on pen.
Well, you can write down 9 names. So feel free to write down a couple more names of high upside midfielders that aren't on pens. Maybe is your clue there.
I mean, then these are the 3. So Bruno against Leicester, game week. You said game week 29 wasn't one of those weeks.
Game week 29 was not one of
Bruno.
those weeks.
So it's not in Boomo.
I'll give a couple more clues for people as well that are struggling. There was a Manchester United midfielder in there.
What? Oh, of course.
There were a couple from sort of the teams battling for 8th. There were 3 from the teams battling for 8th. I can't give exactly who they are, but think about those teams in there that are battling for that 8th position. There were a good 3 or 4 from in there.
I've got one from Bournemouth.
I feel like I'm at school here, so I'll give you 30 seconds to write down a couple more names, and then I'll have to go through the answers. So yeah, just think about midfielders that at some point.
I'm actually going to focus on this.
Yeah, what other ones did you want? So 16, 2 red cards. Yeah, 3. So I'll read them back out for once more. So question 16, which 3 players have had 2 red cards? Question 17, which 3 goalkeepers have 2 penalty saves? Question 18, only 2 outfield players have played every minute. Who are they? And there are 4 players that have risen by 1 million or more in FPL. That was question 19. So the total score here is 36. You get 1 mark for each of the first 15. And then it's how many you can name from the final 5 questions.
So the final 5 are actually really important.
Yeah, that's where you're getting all your marks.
Okay, I'm going to go for the Bournemouth attacker for the second red. Did he get 2 red cards? He got 1.
That's a good guess because you did get 1, yep.
I'm going to go for a Brentford defender as my second one. But no, it's not him. Could it be him?
You might as well put a guess down,
Yeah.
Make sure there's someone in there.
Okay, I'm just going to go for these. I'll go for...
Quite a few cheap midfielders is maybe a good piece of advice for you. There was 3 or 4 in there that were below 6 million, like cheap midfielders.
I'll go for... I went for the big guys. Salah. Palmer, I know, scored 4.
Yeah.
Clivert got that hat-trick of penalties. I know the Man United one. I know a Crystal Palace one that did it. I'll just guess all the 3 mids that I was confused about.
Yeah, there we go. Right, so I'm going to go through the answers now.
All right.
So yeah, if you've been playing along, great. If you've not, hopefully it wasn't too boring at least to hear some of these, and it'll be interesting to hear the answers. So question 1, you've actually got wrong.
Okay.
But you were correct a couple of days ago.
Okay.
So the question was, who is the top scoring assistant manager this season? You put on a slot. He was a couple of days ago.
Right.
He probably will be after tonight.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's David Moyes with 128. So yeah, this is again dependent upon when you're listening to this. It might be on a slot at the point of them listening.
Right.
But as of Monday afternoon,
he was pretty high up, is what I remember last.
Yeah, so it was
week.
Moyes first, slot second, and I think Frank and Glasner were just behind. But lots of assistant managers right in and around that sort of spell. You were absolutely spot on in 2 in terms of there weren't many. There's actually 0.
0.
Question 2, the answer is A. There are 0 defenders that have 150
Trent
points.
has 147.
147.
Oh, man.
So you know
I thought
exactly
157.
No, yeah, 147 for Trent. See, that is 0 defenders over 150. Question 3, who has taken the most shots in the Premier League this season? Wasn't the hottest start. You ruled out the player that it was. It was C, Cole Palmer.
Palmer has the most shots.
Cole Palmer has 125 shots in the Premier League this season.
Semenyo.
So I'm just bringing this up now. Second place is Salah with 121, Semenyo with 120, and Haaland down in 4th with 103.
I would love to know if there's been a drop-off with Palmer. I don't see him shooting in the last few weeks.
So we can actually check this now. In the last 10 game weeks, Palmer has had 28 shots, which is the joint second most in the Premier League. So he's still shooting, just not from very close to goal. I think he's taking very, very long shots at the moment.
If I knew this, I would have captained Palmer last week. So
yeah, the answer to question 3 is C, Palmer. Which outfield player has the best value this season? Who did you go for?
I went B. I forgot what it was.
Which was Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah.
Not quite, but he's second for midfielders. It's actually Jacob Murphy. So Jacob Murphy has the highest. He's the only outfielder with over 30.
Okay, cut the video right now. I've got 4 wrong.
Second place was actually Flecken, I think it was, with like 30.3.
Okay.
Cool. Right. Hopefully we go up from here. I think you might have got a few of the next ones right. So question 5. Who has missed the most big chances in the Premier League? I don't know who you put here. Question 5. A, Ollie Watkins, indeed has missed the most big chances in the Premier League. So yeah, he's missed 27 big chances. Salah was second with 22 big chances.
So had I shown up here last week and you would have told me Watkins has missed the most big chances and Palmer has the most shots in the Premier League, maybe we would have made different decisions.
Exactly, maybe we would have captained Palmer. So yeah, answer to question 5 is A. Answer to question 6 was...
C.
Murillo, most bonus points in the Premier League this season. So Ola Aina and Wan-Bissaka are joint in second with 15 bonus points and Murillo with 18. It's pretty impressive considering the lack of goals, but he's just really good for baseline bonus points. Yeah, so C for question 6. Question 7. Which player has the highest percentage goal involvement for their team this season?
I went Bruno.
The answer is Jared Bowen.
Ooh, okay.
58% for Jared Bowen. Second's actually Salah with 55, which shows how many attacking returns he's had this season.
Feels like Bruno does everything for us, but maybe it's just been so bad that...
Bruno's down at 49%, so he's involved in about half of our goals. But yeah, you were spot on that normally it's who scored the fewest goals. So yeah, the answer is B to question 7. Question 8. I think I've hopefully helped a few people here because I would have gone for Forest.
Yeah.
Which team did you go for as the highest conversion rate? A, Liverpool, B, Wolves, C, Forest, D, Brentford.
I went for Brentford.
That's correct. Yeah, so Brentford. And I think it's because they've got Wissa and Mbeumo.
Correct.
And as you say, Thomas Frank really encourages not having low XG chances. So usually it's a big chance for Wissa or Mbeumo.
Right.
Absolutely. So yeah, and Spurs in second place. I think they're the only 2 teams above 10%.
Right.
So conversion rate's quite low across the Premier League this year. Question 9. How many times this season has Salah got 2+ returns in a single game?
So I went 14.
That is correct. C14. So it was almost exactly half of the game weeks up to 28 that he was on 2+ returns. And then since then, we've had a drop off. So yeah, the answer to question 9 is C14. Question 10. Which goalkeeper has made the most saves in the Premier League this season? Flecken. And I think if you've ever owned Flecken, you'll know he has the 13-pointer in his bag.
Doesn't he have like 2 assists as well? He's been actually great for. It's just it turned out that there was so much value that people could go Raya or someone else, but Flecken was great.
Yeah, so Flecken's done really well. As I say, B was actually Ramsdale with 119.
Okay.
So yeah, Flecken, absolute monster. How many did we get for the opening 10?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not bad.
Okay.
Considering I got the first 4 wrong.
I could see what you're writing down for the first 4 and I was like, oh no, they're all wrong. Okay, right. So the next 5 were ABs. You think you did a bit better here?
Yeah, I hope so.
Who has scored more points, Rodgers or Eze?
Rodgers, I went.
Yes, Rodgers A. I think it was actually like 20 or 25 more. So he's done really well this season.
I thought I did well here. Let's see.
Okay, yeah. So Rodgers A. Who has scored more points? A. Jimenez, B. Evanilson.
Jimenez.
Again, correct. A. Jimenez. Who has scored more points? This one was a bit closer. A. Cunha or B. Wissa?
I think Wissa is just above.
Yeah, Wissa has just crept above. So going into 37, and we've not seen Cunha's game, Wissa was 1 ahead.
Yeah.
But he obviously then got the 10 pointers, so he's now 11 ahead. Yeah, this is a bit better.
3 in a row.
Question 14. Who has scored more points, Son or Saka?
Saka.
It's Son.
Oh, is it?
4 points ahead.
Oh, no.
I was really surprised at that because Son's been rubbish, but he's just played enough games. And there was a little point in the middle of the season where he started to pick up a few more returns.
Okay.
But yeah, he's only had, I say only 7 goals, 10 assists. For Son, that's a really poor season, but it was enough. So yeah, he's just ahead as of right now. So the answer to that one was A. Who has scored more points, A. Aït-Nouri or B. Kirkers?
I went Kirkers.
That's correct, yeah. So 4 out of 5 for that one. That's better.
Yes. We are on 9 out of 15. Not bad.
9 out of 15. So you need 10 to draw with Pickle.
Yeah, no chance.
Or 11 to be. Okay, so those were the A or B ones. So question 16, if you get any of them right, you get one mark for every correct answer. So which 3 players have 2 red cards this season?
So I went Bruno, Jack Stevens.
So Bruno and Stevens are both correct.
Third, I had no idea. I went Van Nilsson.
If I said it was an Arsenal player?
Lewis Skelly.
Lewis Skelly.
Of course.
Yeah, in quite close.
We even had the meme with him holding 2 red cards.
Yeah, so the three answers were Bruno Fernandes, Lewis Skelly, and Stevens.
I knew this. Anyway.
Yeah. Question 17. Which 3 goalkeepers have 2 penalty saves this season? I think you at least got 2.
Sarr, Pickford, Martinez.
So Sarr and Pickford are correct. The third was not.
Oh, okay.
So I gave the clue of he's been linked away. It was actually Ramsdale.
Ah, right.
So Ramsdale's made, and again, a very good penalty save of Ramsdale. I think Martinez has the 1. But yeah, Sarr, Pickford, Ramsdale are the 3 answers there. Yeah, Jose Sarr, the free hit 34 hero. Not for me, sadly. I'm glad you've left one of these on. Only 2 outfield players have played every available minute for their club. You was about to cross out your only right answer.
Or Collins.
Collins is
and
correct.
Milenkovic.
So Milenkovic is not correct, but Collins is.
Ah, right, okay.
And I think Collins was close or did last season as well.
Yeah.
The answer is actually, it feels very obvious, Van Dijk.
Oh, yes, of course.
Virgil van Dijk. I would have guessed Saliba, but he did miss out, obviously, that little spell. But yeah, so Collins and Van Dijk are the only 2 players to play every available minute. We're recording this before the Brighton game, so Van Dijk might not play 90.
I'm going to have this remarked after tonight.
But yeah, exactly. You probably get the slot point. But yeah, Collins and Van Dijk are the 2 outfield players. There are actually only 4 goalkeepers, I think, as well. So a lot of goalkeepers have even missed some available minutes. Cool. There are 4 players that have risen by 1 million or more in FPL this season. Who are they?
So Mbeumo, I know for sure.
Mbeumo was the highest, 1.3.
Yeah, he started at 7, which is ridiculous.
1.3 million.
Salah, of course.
Salah has risen 1.1.
Isak
has risen exactly 1 at the time of me recording.
For me, 1.1 because he first dropped. Nobody believed in Isak.
Okay, yeah.
He dropped in price. They were selling. And then Kluivert I went for. I wasn't sure about the 4th.
That's not right. What else might rise, Pras?
Of course. Chris Wood.
So it's almost quite fitting. But the other thing that might rise, is Wood. So we've got Chris Wood, 1.2 million. He's actually the 2nd highest price riser this season. So yeah, the only 4 players to rise by 1 million or more: Mbeumo, Salah, Wood, Isak. So you got 3 out of the 4 there.
I'm on 17. I need to get 2 out of the last 9.
I think you've got the 2. Right. So to do it in chronological order from game week 2 onwards, Madueke's hat-trick against Wolves for the 6-2.
Yes.
So Madueke, 20-pointer in game week 2.
Yeah.
We then had a Palmer 25-pointer in game week 6.
Yes,
I was at Old Trafford, I think, when that happened, and I just kept seeing that the points come in. We then had in game week 13 the Sharda hat-trick and assist. 23-pointer from Kevin Sharda. Game week 21, we then had the Ahmad late hat-trick, which was the 20-pointer. FPL Harry had him for that game week. Then we had, Kluivert's hat-trick in game week 22, which was 22 points. And then Dango followed that up with a hat-trick the next week.
Yeah.
So Dango, 21-pointer in game week 23. Salah has hit 20-plus points in 3 game weeks, 25, 24, and 17. So 3 times by Salah. The Newcastle mid was Harvey Barnes that got 27 points.
You know, I've guessed Tonali, Murphy, and Joelinton as my 3 choices.
I heard you going through the Newcastle mids. I was like, no.
Of course it was Barnes, and then everyone bought Barnes. Yes, of course.
Yeah, so Barnes 27-pointer. And then in the following double, it was Trossard with 24 points. It was the Arsenal mid that went big.
I did badly.
So yeah, your answers are Madueke, Palmer, Sharda, Ahmad, Cliver, Dango, Salah, Barnes, and Trossard. If you got all 9, then you get 9.
I got 4.
So what does that put you on overall?
So that's
21?
14, 17, 21, yes.
21 points. You beat Pickle by 2.
Well, that's, it's...
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're an elite manager there. So your Pickle score to beat was 19 out of 36, and your Pras score to beat was 21 out of 36. I would have obviously got 32 or 33 if I've done it. But no, let us know what you got. If anyone managed to beat Pras, I think you've done a fairly good job.
If Slot has won tonight, then I'm getting 22 points.
Yeah, then you can add the point on for sure. And if Van Dijk doesn't play, then we can just get all full marks for the Collins one as well. Perfect. That was good. You actually did a lot better than I thought you might.
This was tougher than I thought. I thought it was going to be like who has over 200 points and things like that. I did no prep, so maybe, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I've pushed you there. That's fine. Cool. Right. Next part then is some quick fire questions. Yeah. So whilst you're still thinking about that sort of stuff, we've got 6 quick fire questions. Some of it we've discussed. Some of it you might want to give some opinion. So you can have like 5 to 10 seconds. Some of it you might just want to go one word answers. Okay. Question 1. Who is the best Gameweek 38 captain?
Salah.
Who is the best differential Gameweek 38 captain?
Ivan Nilsson.
Is Saka still a good buy with Arsenal securing UCL and second place?
Buy yes, captain no.
Who is your favourite midfielder to buy under 7 million?
I would have said, how much is Gordon?
I think just over.
Just over, so I'll go Cliver.
Cliver, perfect. If Isak is out injured or a major doubt, who would be your favourite replacement?
Ivan Nilsson.
And which do you think will be the highest scoring game in Gameweek 38?
I'm going to go Liverpool Crystal Palace.
Liverpool Crystal Palace. Party on the final day. Perfect. Smashed it. Next game then is the prediction game for FPL Therapy. I just want to note, by the way, I don't know if you've seen, you're all the way from Gameweek 2. You're still on the leaderboard.
Nice.
Which is quite, you're the only one from early season that's still on the leaderboard there. You were top for a very long time before the doubles and stuff started coming in. So you're secure now. You're going to be on the leaderboard regardless. The score to beat, though, was Charlie with 35, who absolutely smashed it.
Was that a double game week?
No.
Oh, really?
He had Sharda, KDB, and Vardy in a single game week. I can't remember when it was like 35 maybe. And they got 35 points. Harry and Oscar in second and third were doubles. So you've got your work cut out for you. We just spoke about this game being high scoring. You've gone for Gakpo as your first one.
I just think if that game is the high scoring game, you know, I feel like getting into Slot's mind, he will see this as, okay, guys, you've had your little break. Let's now reset a little bit for next season. So I'm going to start. Jota's not going to start. He was a little bit iffy with injuries. I have to keep it short. But Darwin's not going to start.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Gakpo, Diaz, and Salah. So I go with Gakpo.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people will load up maybe on Luis Diaz because he's the mid, and Gakpo's going to be the one that gets the goals.
Diaz would have been man, so he's over 10%.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Number 2, I knew he was probably just under 10, but I didn't think he was 3.6. Even Nilsson's very low.
It's ridiculously low. Like, again, it could be a Watkins situation where he's like 50% by the deadline, but today he's 3%.
I don't see him going that high, though, simply because I think there are other issues to sort in teams, like with the Saliba stuff, with people maybe still wanting to go Saka. And because I don't think as many people will captain as Watkins did, I don't think we're going to look at an 80% even Nilsson. I think the highest he can go, what do you think the highest EO percentage even Nilsson could creep to? If even Nilsson, maybe Isak gets ruled out or something.
So if Isak is 100% ruled out and Salah looks underwhelming, then the highest he could go is even 70-80, that people just get him in and captain him.
But you'll still gain from him.
Yeah, you'll still gain. He won't go over 100.
And then the player that you just asked at in the previous section, he's 7.4 million, is Gordon, who is still under 10%. He's been starting with Murphy in the more withdrawn role. He's looked, I think, probably their best attacker, I would say, at the moment. And if he doesn't start, I don't know if you took this into consideration, but might be on pens and might be playing as the 9.
Of course I did. I just think he's looked better and better every week. And if he, I could even see if Isak is out, him playing up top. Now, that's not the best for Gordon, but he'll get chances. It's a game that they have to win, I think,
Against his old team as well, Everton.
Exactly.
How many points do you think you get? 3 players playing at home?
10 pointers from each, so I'm going for the 30-pointer. Charlie has how much?
Charlie has 35, Harry has 30 in second, so 30 will put you in joint second. So 31, you can...
I'll be realistic.
Okay, perfect. Right, and then the final thing is just to discuss our teams. They are looking a little bit similar, but this week not quite as similar. So I think there are 3 or 4 different players in our starting 11, and captaincy is currently different. So you've got Raya and Kivior. You're in a good position because you don't have the Saliba issue to worry about. You've then got Livramento and Gvardiol as your other 2 defenders. Midfield is Salah, Cap, Mbeumo, De Bruyne, Rodgers, and then a front 3 of Isak, Wissa, and Watkins. And then you've got Ismail Assar, Konsa, and Munoz on the bench. So 2 million in the bank, is that right?
2 million in the bank.
What's your plan at the moment, or your series of plans? Because I know often you'll have like 5 or 6 different permutations.
I mean, looking at issues, right? So defense is not an issue at all. Very happy. Livramento's being playing left wing back.
I'm very jealous. He's one of the best players to own for this week, probably.
So really, really good. I like him. And, not happy benching Munoz, but, it's fine. Like, I think there's other upside defenders. So nothing there. De Bruyne and Isak are the only 2 issues. Like, if Isak was completely fine, I'd say, you know what, I'm doing Saka. Let's not worry about it. That's what I'm doing. But now with the Saka thing and with the Isak thing, those are my 2 question marks. And so everything will revolve around that. I'm not touching Wissa, Watkins, Rodgers, Salah. So it'll come down to how Isak is. Let's assume everything is fine. Then it'll be De Bruyne to a midfielder. If I have enough conviction, then it's Saka. Otherwise, it could be Bowen, it could be Gordon, something like that.
And if Isak, let's say Isak's ruled out, would it just be Isak to even Ilson?
Yeah,
probably?
Unfortunately. As much of, or as boring as that is, I just think that's the best striker that I think for this week that I can get. It'll leave me with 5.6 million in the bank going into Gameweek 36. Shows you how important team value is.
And then let's say we get Isak out and De Bruyne leaked to not start. Would you play Ismail Assar and avoid the hit? Or do you think you would take both De Bruyne and Isak out for a -4 hit?
I've thought about it. I think I'll take the hit.
Take the hit.
I'll get Saka and Ivan Nilsson, because I think those are, in terms of top 3 potential, those are the top 3.
Final question then, and I will advise people, by the way, it's worth thinking about if we get this news. I know you often have like a series of plans in place. If Isak's out, De Bruyne is leaked to be on the bench, but Saka is leaked to also be on the bench, would you still take a -4 hit to do De Bruyne to Bowen or Cliver, or do you think at that stage, Sarr and saving the 4-point hit would be worth it?
I think that's what I'll do, because I don't think anyone else who I get will be worth that 4-point hit.
Perfect. Very nice. Team looks good. I think Livramento being in place is really nice, and having that easy route to
and
Saka
getting lucky with Kivior instead of Saliba.
Yeah, you need a little bit of luck in FPL. So my team's not too far off. I think this screenshot I took was before the yellow flags started piling in though. So yeah, Raya and Saliba as my 2 Arsenal defenders. I think Raya will start, as we said, for the Golden Glove, but Saliba, I just don't see a world in which he does. So at the moment, I can play Bradley or Munoz. Munoz has so much attacking threat. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets something. I don't expect a clean sheet. And if Conor Bradley starts against Crystal Palace at home, it's got the upside there. So I would like to avoid a defender transfer if I can. And I'm starting Gvardiol and Konsa. Midfield 4 at the moment is Mbeumo, Salah, Bowen, and Rodgers. I've currently got the armband on Bowen. I don't know if that's just... I don't know if I'm pushing it too far there, but before the Bowen goal, again, I tweeted it way before, and I just had this feeling about Bowen, and sometimes I like just leaning into that. And he's done me so well. If he blanks, I can't be angry at him, because he's the only reason that I'm even in this position to start with. So I don't think there's a huge amount between like Bowen, Salah, Saka this week. I think in my head, they're all just as likely, maybe Salah slightly more to return. Depending on about how Tuesday goes. If I'm like 3 points off the top 10k, I might just think cap Salah and just hope that my surrounding players get me over the line. But if I think I'm about 8 or 9 off, it's an option. So Bowen's got the armband at the moment. And then my front 3 is also Wissa, Isak, Watkins, again with Sarr on the bench. So if Isak's fine, I think Sarr to Cliver is probably the most sensible option. But then that does mean benching Morgan Rodgers or Wissa. And it's like at that stage, do I maybe then not make the move, sell Saliba to White or Saliba to Calafiori
or
Kirkes and actually make a defender transfer, because it does have some upside rather than risking playing Bradley or Munoz. So that's option, just make the defender transfer, or I just make it and accept that there's a bit of a benching headache. The other option I have, if I really want to push, is benching a more highly owned asset. So actually starting Rodgers and benching someone more like a Wissa, potentially, who's a slightly higher overall ownership.
You're going to have to calibrate this after Tuesday, right? Because if you're 5 or 6 points behind, I would actually, Captain Bowen sounds great. Yeah. You'll have to chase. But yeah, like you said, if it's 2-3 points, then just hope the team pulls through. And I think the weakness that I see in your team, your midfield is better than most because of Bowen's in place. Yep. You're not waiting for leaks on De Bruyne.
Yep.
I think it is in defense. So yes, people say there's not a lot of clean sheets in Gameweek 38, but there's upside with Kirkes as well. Like Leicester hardly score. Even White, like we've talked about his potential. So
we saw this week with Konsa 15-pointer. Like a defender can go out there and single-handedly get you a green.
This is what I was going to say. Like if you think about a hat-trick for a striker, that's 17 points. Konsa gets 1 goal and a clean sheet, that's 15 points. The upset. Now, The contrary to that is, how many defenders have got over 150 points? 0, now that we've learned today. So, it's also the case that you have to really get lucky for your defender to get that haul. But that's what you're trying to do.
I've not really looked into the odds of this, so I could be massively off, but I wouldn't imagine that the odds for a hat-trick are significantly higher than the odds for a goal and a clean sheet for an attacking defender. Yeah. I would say they're probably relatively close. So yeah, the options there. And again, there are some high upside defenders. I think if Isak was ruled out, which I don't think we'll get that news, it saves me a benching headache.
Yeah.
It saves me having to worry. I just do Isak to another forward, and probably it'll be either Nielsen or Gakpo or someone like that. I've even looked at Havertz, if we think Havertz might start. So Isak being out would save me a headache, but then it would mean that I've got Ismaila Sarr as my first sub rather than Rodgers. So my squad depth isn't quite as good.
I mean, for you, I think in your case, your best case scenario is Isak is out and De Bruyne is league to not start. Because then everyone around you has to solve for De Bruyne, has to do the Isak transfer, and then you have Bowen in place that nobody else does.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That would be a very lucky end. But I think it's probably going to come down to captaincy.
Yeah.
Which it often does in Gameweek 38. Sometimes it goes fantastically. Or that one differential player. Last year it was Eze I had for his 18-pointer. Mateta scored a hat-trick.
I got Eze as well last game.
Exactly.
Instead of Havertz, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all you need is that one player, that one captain. Sundays are so much fun. Like, however it goes, Gameweek 38 is just utter chaos.
It is.
Right up into the deadline, and then obviously at the games. Like, you've got like these apps open and it's just ping, 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 ping. And then you're trying to work out who got the assist. And as you're doing that, another team scores. And you just you can't work out where your rank is at until right at the end. Like, I was trying to track my rank and it was just like shooting up and down. But I remember there was 2 seasons ago, I was 9.8k going into Gameweek 38 and I finished 10.1k.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
And it was 0 points to like 9.6k had the same number of points as me, but I had made more transfers.
Oh no.
Because I've taken a few
somebody
hits.
Says, don't make your, or try to save a roll or burn a transfer.
Exactly.
Maybe that makes sense.
So I've taken 1 hit this season. So I'm thinking I've probably made fewer transfers than those around me. So there is the potential that actually, if it does go down to transfers made, that I'm actually in a pretty good position. But there we go. That's the podcast, mate. Thank you very much for being the final guest. It's been fun.
No, it's been amazing. And I was one of the early ones and now I'm one of the last ones. So it's a pleasure to be on. Pleasure to be, it's a different vibe when you're actually talking to somebody.
Absolutely.
And I think I said that earlier as well. So thank you for doing this for, we get to hear from a lot of people in the community. And so it's, I think, something wonderful.
Thank you. And congrats for a fantastic season as well. And also, not only your season, but the FPL Wire, I've really enjoyed this season. So if Pranil and Zoff are listening or watching, fantastic content, genuinely. If you're watching at home now and you've not listened or watched to the FPL Wire, big things coming for next season. You're always trying to innovate. You've obviously got your team selection videos this season, which has been a massive bonus for me because I listened to you guys on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I want a little bit more closer to the deadline. So that's been great.
It was actually you who you were one of the people who had advised us to do team selection videos because when we were last season in the summer, we were thinking, what can we do? One of the things that you mentioned was I want each one of you to have your personality and do a little video as well. So thank you for that.
No, it's okay. Because I'll get to like a Friday and I'm like trying to check your tweets to see like what's Pras thinking at this stage or what's Pranil. And especially because each of you think so differently, it's just nice to get that. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And we'll get you on in pre-season or early season, I'm sure, next season. Perfect. Thank you for all of the support for FPL Therapy. So this is the final episode. It's been amazing. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of behind the scenes that you probably don't see, but it's worth it considering how much people have enjoyed listening and watching. So thank you for all of the support. If you are listening on audio, please rate 5-star one final time. If you're watching, please do make sure to like and subscribe. But until next season, thank you very much. Bye-bye.